Well, thank you so much for being here with us once again on another episode of A Legacy of Love, Un Legado de Amor. And today we have a very interesting guest, and I think it's an honor for me to really have her. Her name is Gina. And would you love to share a little bit more about yourself, what you do for a living, or just in general, a little bit about yourself?
Yes, and thank you so much for having me, Analee. I'm excited to be here. So, yes, my name is Gina. I'm a mom of four, been an entrepreneur since the age of 23. I wish I could say, life was smooth sailing, but like we often, experience many different trials, tribulations, and dark in life. I was not spared with that, but am happy to report I feel that I have come on the other side of so much. I am uh, creator of a method that's called the colorful clearing method. It's kind of my new direction and path in life. And it's really stemmed from my healing journey from a lot of, different emotional trials, anxiety, depression, a lot of grief. I lost three brothers in the last few years and a nephew. Went through times of dark emotional abuse in marriage, childhood sexual abuse. So I've had a past that has, constantly directed me towards trying to not fall victim of my circumstance and to constantly find a way into peace, love, gratitude, happiness, to live that ultimately fulfilled life that we're all chasing, I think. And I created this method as a way to hopefully give people a shortcut and a way to rapidly move towards their healing in the shortest amount of time because we know we're all pressed for time. So it's a little bit about me.
Wow. Well, it seems that you've been through a lot, which I could definitely connect with you in that area of loss, losing loved ones. My mother at a very young age, I was about to be 15, and also uh, losing my first child. I was just 5 months along, and it should have never happened, but it happened, and it was just an assistant. He was still not even a doctor, claiming he was a doctor, and I was out of the country. Losing my best friend and just recently another friend. So I definitely know what loss is about. And I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be, interested of understanding and knowing, and maybe they're still stuck in that grief of loss because it has different stages as you lose someone. And sometimes you continue going back to the same cycle of loss. And it just, it gets harder. Even some people think it gets easier, but there's certain seasons like Christmas, like a Mother's Day, maybe Father's Day, maybe their birthdays, which I could see you shaking your head, that you definitely understand when that is harder because there's something there that you still remember when they were here. And how were you able to overcome or face this loss? Because there's people that are still facing it in a very dark way of isolation, crying, or they've lost hope. How were you able to overcome this, if you don't mind sharing?
So I wrote this actually just yesterday because it happened to be the anniversary of my baby brother. It's been 2 years since he passed, and you always do that kind of tribute to them on Facebook or social media. And it's funny because it came to me to write that grief to me kind of feels like wearing a backpack that, for the most part, stays shut, but at times gets overstuffed and the zipper can't help but come undone. So I don't know if there is ever a point in grief management where you feel like that backpack is completely off. To me, I believe grief management, at least for me, has been learning and discovering ways for me to get used to the presence of it, not necessarily burying it and ignoring it, feeling it when those emotions come up, but really going inward and searching for my own almost lifelines or life preserver, whatever I feel is going to lift me up and try to get me on the other side of the lower vibrational emotions, the lower frequencies. This is kind of where my area of study in that comes into play. When we stay in the grief, the guilt, the shame, the pain, and we stay in those, unfortunately becomes this really difficult cycle to break. And that's where you find yourself sometimes going into the weeks, and then the weeks are turning into the months, and it is just becoming darker and darker, heavier and heavier, and you're having a hard time even seeing that light at the end of the tunnel. Is there another side of this? So I feel each individual person's journey is made up of just every day trying to explore the things that still bring you joy, because that is why we are here. We are beings of love. We are beings of light. We are meant to experience, even in times of great pain, we are still meant to experience joy and love and happiness. So what is that for you? What is that? Learning a technique? Is it music? Is it leaning on friends and family? Is it, even if it's the last thing you want to do, leaving the house and just taking your dog for a walk, to breathe outside again? And it can be the tiniest little things, but identifying what your specific kind of color code is, what brings the color back in your life, and lean on those things that you discover to make it easier to manage your grief day to day. That's what I was saying.
No, I agree with you because I remember back in the day as I lost my mother, back in that time, it was not something that relatives were okay with opening up and wanting to share and having you just express your emotions. Instead, they wanted you to be isolated. They wanted you to pretend that everything was okay, that to ignore the pain, to ignore what was going on. And I eventually realized throughout all these years that they just had me pretending that everything was normal, that everything was right. But instead of me expressing what was happening inside of me, and you actually shared a little bit about that as we're talking, I think that feeling, the loss and crying at times and expressing how you're feeling is it's very important to do that. You have to validate this loss and this person that's not there with you anymore. And it's okay to have those moments where you cry, because still now I've had friends that they've lost someone, but they say, no, 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 everything's okay. And I'm like, no, I believe that it's okay to go and cry because this is a loss that you've had. And not because, like you said about the backpack, you're always going to have that backpack. And it definitely is part of who you are, how you became, what you became now. And you're supposed to honor that and cry over your loss instead of trying to pretend that everything is okay. Kind of like a facade, like pretending you're someone that you're not, because that's who I ended up being when I was very young. And now I'm like, you know what? It really took a big toll. And it's better when you're just open and you're allowed to, which I wasn't, which I know you could definitely understand a little bit about that norm, or you've heard of it, where
I think
they're
that's
expecting you
society's
to
norm,
behave
right?
in a certain way. Yes.
That's society's norm. And that is, for the most part, that's exactly what people teach us, to pretend like everything is okay, even if it's not. Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with you. I think we have to feel. I think it's so important.
Yes, I agree. And there's a lot of people right now that are going through this loss that just don't know what to do. And first of all, I would say, like you came up with a very good ideas. My personal journey was, I think that journaling. will definitely help a lot when we're sitting down and you're recognizing, okay, this is my loss. How can I honor that legacy of that loved one? What can I do? What did that person leave me that I could continue pouring on to the next generations to come? Journaling. Finding that time of the during the day that maybe you didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye. Maybe you didn't have the moment, you were not expecting this to happen. Because you need to have closure in a way, even though you're always going to be mourning and hurting. Maybe write them a letter. Maybe expressing those things that you always wanted to tell them, but you weren't able to because you were not expecting this to happen. Sometimes we're expecting someone to pass, but sometimes it doesn't always happen that way. So, what were the things that you wanted to say to that loved one by writing it, by literally even with a friend sitting down and pretending that that person is there and they're listening to you, or we don't know. Maybe our loved ones are there, and we need to express that. We need to let them know how much we love them and how much we miss them because that's very natural and that's very normal.
Absolutely. And journaling, it is a practice that I have done for years, but I have never leaned on it. So I have never leaned on it more at any time in my life than when processing grief. And it's actually part of the colorful clearing method. There's two journaling sessions, journaling what we want to release intentionally and what we want to call in intentionally. But I have a story as far as the letter idea. I wrote one and took a walk in a park near my house and buried it under a beautiful purple flower. So no, and it was to process. It's when a person is removed from your life that we no longer have that two-way communication with. Writing letters is such a healing tool. We can speak our hearts and it's very cleansing. So I love that. I think it's extremely important and a very easy thing for people to do that I don't think a lot of people, spend time to do. Make that time, make it a sacred little session for yourself. If it does make you feel better, drive to a location, drive to a special location if there's one that meant a lot to the both of you or to the specific person. And it's okay to explore many different forms of release in grief, but it's also, like you said, it's okay to feel and process at your own speed, not to put the pressure on yourself to say, oh, it's been 6 months, I shouldn't be feeling this way. Oh, it's been a year, shouldn't I be over this by now? There's no timeline to it. And it's just learning how to, I feel, kind of adapt to the new normal and go from there.
No, I agree with you. I agree. And I could see how you were smiling and listening and, connecting with what I was saying about the fact of all these different ideas that you could actually do. And I think that they're very, very helpful. To come up. And maybe this is not it. Maybe you have your own way. Like you said, going to that special place where you would go and spend time with your loved one, journaling, who knows? Whatever you know that your loved one loved and that you both connected in that way, well, maybe that's something that you could actually, continue to honor and by carrying those memories towards the next generations, and that's part of your legacy, something that you both enjoyed, trying to find healing, even though it's very normal to feel depressed, to feel down, to have those moments, those days, like you said, when it's a next anniversary and birthday. Who knows? Christmas is coming, New Year's, and you still, you're having that hard time. And in your case, it's just been 2 years. I think that even when it's 30 years plus, or they're still present, and we will still love them and honor them. And with that said, what would you like to leave this audience with as a message of maybe how to connect with you, how to a special message about this topic that we were not even planning, but it went just perfectly well with overcoming. How could people, or what do you think is the best tool of overcoming?
I think the best tool of overcoming is to allow yourself to feel whatever you're feeling without attaching a meaning to it. And what I mean by that is on those days, maybe the anniversary, maybe the birthday, maybe the holiday. If you are on the couch and you can't get up off the couch, allow yourself to be okay with that because it is okay. Because grief management, as we're talking, it's twofold. One, we say, we don't, need to feel. Then if we feel, sometimes we think we're feeling too much and we beat ourselves up about that as well. So I say remove the judgment of the feeling, remove the judgment and allow whatever to move as it's coming up and moving, but try to just observe what those feelings are, but not attach too much pressure to it, not try not to be so hard on yourself one way or the other, and just kind of allow for it, sit in it, and then intentionally, place those intentions, whatever higher power you do believe in. It's all around us at all times, and I feel it's one of the greatest assets and resources that we don't call on enough, even during our day. And so what I mean by that is a lot of times maybe your ritual is, and maybe you pray, maybe you meditate, maybe you go to mosque, or still all these different, whatever religion or belief you have. We tend to sometimes do those activities on whatever, maybe on Sunday, maybe in the morning, maybe before we go to bed at night, right? I mean, that's been the whole thing. I would say your prayers before bed or whatever. But what I have discovered is tapping into that source as needed on demand is probably one of the greatest tools in helping me process any emotion that is bringing me down. So what I mean by that is if I am being kind of, grief is overtaking me and I'm driving in the car and I'm, tears are falling down, but I have to get out of the car in 5 minutes to go into a cheer event for my daughter and maintain composure. It's taking a few minutes to breathe and just ask, can you please help lift this emotion? Can you please fill me with love? Can you please fill me with joy for a moment? That energy is all around us to be tapped into. So I feel like when you allow yourself to ask for help, not only from this higher power, not only from source, not only from the energy around us, but from other people around you as well. If it's picking up and calling a friend, if it's leaning toward, leaning on somebody, sending a quick text, even saying, hey, can you just send me a little bit of good energy? I'm ready to walk into my daughter's cheer and I'm overtaken by grief right now. Would you mind? So lean on asking for help, no matter what source you're going to grab it from. But that's what I would leave people with. As far as connecting with me, I'm sure wherever this is being posted, I have it's Colorful Living with Gina Marie on Facebook. I have TikTok, Instagram. It's kind of Colorful Living with Gina or Colorful Living with Gina Marie everywhere. So you can find me and follow anywhere you are and to connect. And I'm excited to, connect with anybody who's more interested in the colorful clearing method.
Okay, well, sounds great. And I'm very, very thankful that you were here with us, sharing a little bit about your story and what you do. And well, thank you so much, and definitely have a wonderful, blessed day.
Thanks so much.